Good evening, and I'd like to welcome you all, and at this point I'd like to invite Roanna Sharofsky to the podium.
Oh, wait, good evening. Just waiting for everyone to find a seat. Good evening and welcome. We come together tonight to commemorate Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, the events that ushered in the series of attacks on Jews in Nazi Germany and Austria that resulted in unspeakable horrors and among the darkest moments in human history. Our very active Holocaust Committee, under Harry Uvegi's leadership, under Harry Uvegi's not only leadership, but he has really been at the helm of making so many things happen here, has been involved with enhancing Holocaust education and developing and maintaining our archives. And you will be able to later peruse and see some of the things that have been accomplished. I want to acknowledge the committee and the work that they have done. And they're listed in your program, but they're really, if you look at the numbers, it's quite extraordinary. And Harry, I want to acknowledge your work because your passion and your commitment literally know no bounds. You have been instrumental in really making these things happen. We're sincerely grateful and indebted to you. Tonight, it's my honor to welcome 3 speakers, and about whom you will hear much more later. But I couldn't begin the evening without acknowledging or just saying a word about each of them. I don't think there's anyone in the room who doesn't know Peter Geffen. As a matter of fact, when I was welcoming some parents, and it is so nice to see some of you are graduates and alumni parents, one parent said to me, well, I couldn't not come, you know, it's Peter. So that's Peter. Peter, among the many hats that he wears and the incredible work that he's done, and in addition to being founder of this school, Peter is deeply, deeply committed to bringing positive relations between Arabs, Muslims, and Jews. And you'll hear more about that later. I just had the privilege a few moments ago of being introduced to El Midai Boudra from Morocco. I don't know him well, but there was an immediate feeling of really of warmth. He spoke to some of the 12th graders yesterday who are taking the Holocaust course, and I know that they were extraordinarily moved. What I do know about him is that this is a courageous man, and we are really grateful to have you. And to Elizabeth Citron. Elizabeth Citron comes to us from Sweden, and I would say that in addition to being a Holocaust survivor, for us, Elizabeth, you'll always be known as the grandmother of the Heschel students, the mother of President Joel Citron, and mother-in-law of Ulrika. It's really an honor to have all 3 of you here, and you'll hear much more about them later. And now, Harry, it's my privilege to turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Roanna. What a beautiful audience. Thank you. I would like to start off with my thank yous, and specifically addressing Roanna, because without Roanna's understanding of the event and its implications, I was happy to receive your okay in having this happen and agreeing to extend our invitation to Almedi Boudra to come to America from Morocco. In addition to your position, there are several people that work with you on a daily basis, and I'd like to thank the wonderful support that I've received and the committee has received from Carol Weintraub, from Shani Manor, Richard, and the entire maintenance staff for having, in the last minute, a decision made from having this event downstairs in the reception room, and the RSVPs that kept coming in on a daily basis, which gave us an enormous uplift in knowing that the work that we're doing digitally is beginning to take hold. So all of those who RSVP'd via the email or by the link on our website, we thank you profusely for doing so. And that brings me to thank the Heschel IT department under the guidance of John Hutzler and David Anderson, who is here with us tonight to help move our event forward seamlessly, and he's been doing an exquisite job doing that. And I couldn't be standing here without the help of everybody listed on the program on the back page, all the names that are members of the committee. And I'd like to just a quick acknowledgement that with all the financial challenges and the economic challenges that we're facing, I'd like everyone here to know that we have not let go of any member of our committee. And on top of that, we're looking for additional people to come join us. We really need your help in attempting to gather all the information that we can to fill our archives for the legacy that we plan to leave our children. David Fogel, who has been the leader as our archive online webmaster. For Marissa Fox, who has helped to organize the speaker event bios. And for Leslie Wolfowitz, for volunteering her mother, Sally Frischberg, herself a survivor, for giving Almedi and myself a personal tour of the Jewish Heritage Museum yesterday. An extraordinary moment for myself and for me to view the museum through the eyes of Almedi Boudra, a young Arab Muslim student from Morocco. Extraordinary. I'd also like to thank the group for helping to get the word out and the invitations out, including my lovely wife, our newest committee member. Joe Friedman, who is standing so tall at the video camera, who has been a videographer at our events for the past few years and has helped us in the task with remembering. And now all of you for being here, because without you I would be speaking to an empty room. When one person can make a significant difference, then a community of determined people can change the course of history. Tonight, Kristallnacht, we have the opportunity to bring together the shimmering pieces of light from the night of broken glass. Personal stories of our community. Some of you are holding a document that lists all the bios of previous speakers from 1997 through 2011. And each one of them has a personal story of their survival, of their life before the event and after the Holocaust, and how each of them brought an amazing perspective of what they've experienced, but also a lesson for us to learn about what we can do for future generations so this never happens again. When properly focused and coordinated intention can be one of the most effective ways to enact change in our world. When I heard of Peter's journey, which is one of many, the one that happened in September for me was a follow-up to my experience in January of 2010, when Peter in partnership with an NGO, created the event at the UN about Morocco and the Holocaust. And it was at that event that I had the experience of witnessing the blueprint for how the Middle East will reach its goal of finally having peace. That was a feeling that I had. And it was the same feeling that I had the night we had dinner together before September's event, and I asked Peter, would he be willing to do this Kristallnacht? And there was a moment of caution in which he said, well, let me decide when I've been at the event. And I said, fine. When you decide, just text me one word. And the word would be yes. And on September 23rd, I received that text, yes. And that was about cutting close as we've ever gone before in planning a Kristallnacht event. And everything had to go into motion. And again, thank you, Roanna, for helping us get into that motion. I see from those two events, and by the way, I was fortunate enough to be able to experience the live stream that happened from Morocco, in which I experienced many of the speeches, specifically Elizabeth's, which was very touching. And it was at that moment, while we were planning for this event, that I broached the subject of doing live stream for our event, which is a first for the school and a first for us. And we are, I believe, currently live streaming across anyone, the alumni that may be at their computer, or I believe students in Morocco, friends of El Mehdi and his community, are witnessing this as well. I had the opportunity for the past few days, first to pick up Mehdi from the airport, get to know him, and just the moment of my walking into the airport, I was supposed to carry the sign that says Kivunim El Mehdi Budra. I didn't even have a chance to open it up or even take it out until we just connected and we walked right up to each other without knowing each other. And that was the beginning of a warm hello that carried me through the morning where we got up at 7:30 to go down to get to this 10 o'clock meeting on a 2-hour tour of the museum. And I had the opportunity to walk with Mehdi downtown through the financial district, and we stopped at Occupy Wall Street for a gentleman from Morocco to be at the most current event, and then to walk across town and come to the museum. While in the room, while on the walk through the museum, there was one room that had windows, an exhibit of the different types of Jews: Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, Liberal. And I watched Sarah try to explain to Mehdi about the different types of Jews there are and how we try to kind of live together and balance our life together. And she struggled with the notion of how do you explain that? And at that moment, I just told her, I think we just need to remember ourselves as farmers. And as a farmer, we need to know the land. We need to understand the different species that we grow. And we need to be sensitive to each one of these species in terms of what and how they need to be fed. And in harmony, a farm grows and feeds us. And that's the element that I think we're trying to bring to the world in terms of what mission Peter is on, what mission Mehdi is on. All of this while we have a memory of building our own family trees, rebuilding our own memory of the trees that lived before this event. In November 2003, in honor of the U.S. Holocaust Museum's 10th anniversary, Mr. Benjamin Mead, a grandfather of Heschel students, conceived a tribute to Holocaust survivors, a reunion of a special family, which honored survivors, liberators, and rescuers, as well as their families. More than 7,000 people, 4 generations strong, traveled to Washington from 38 states around the world to take part in the largest museum event since its opening. We now pass our torch on to our children and to their children and beyond, Mr. Mead said at the tribute. The torch of memory is precious. It can illuminate the world. Meaningful change can only come about through dedicated people with an effective strategy. Tonight, we will listen to a survivor, an educator, and a student. We will learn about the bridge that is being built before your eyes and our eyes, a bridge that will illuminate the world. We each have a personal journey, while we all share the same path. Together, we make a difference. All we really have in the end are our stories. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce the Heschel Harmonizers.
So first of all, welcome. It's great to see so many people here and to share this evening with all of you. I'm Joel Citron. I happen to be the president of the Board of Trustees here at Heschel, and that's an unbelievable honor that I cherish every day. But it gives me an opportunity to sort of jump in the program and unannounced to say a few words. So first of all, thank you to our wonderful staff who spent the day here preparing for this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Roanna. Thank you, Harry. Thank you for your wonderful words, and for all of you in the Holocaust Commemoration Committee who worked so hard throughout the year to make this evening special, but so many other things extraordinary as well. Peter, El-Mehdi, and Mommy, thank you for being here. This, for me, is it's really a special night. I am the president of the board here for a community that I love more than anything. I also spent 3 years being the president of the board of Kivunim. And as serendipity has it, I serve on a board of my alma mater, University of Southern California's USC Shoah Foundation Institute, and Stephen Smith, who's the executive director, happens to be with us here tonight as well. So for me, that's a true trifecta. But let me say something about how I feel here tonight. My maternal grandfather was born in 1897 in a small town. In 1915, he fought in the Great War. During that war, he earned an Iron Cross for bravery. In 1945, he was liberated at Bergen-Belsen, 30 years after earning his Iron Cross. That's a juxtaposition in life. My grandfather was an extraordinary man, and he taught extraordinary things. He lived his life with 3 main tenets: justice, hope, and healing. And the one thing he never let himself do was go anywhere near a place of hate. How did he live it? Well, he arrived in Sweden after his liberation, not speaking the language. The first thing he did was take care of fellow refugees, fellow survivors, and he was one of the first people who started working on reparations from the German government. Justice. Hope. He never lost hope. As a matter of fact, in the camps in Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, he was the organizing force. People who survived along with him say they wouldn't have done so without him. He never lost hope to be reunited with his daughter, although it took almost 5 years from the end of the war until he found out that his daughter was indeed alive. And boy, you can understand, I'm certainly happy that was the case, right? I wouldn't be here. So he never lost hope. Healing. How do you express healing and desire to heal? Within a few years after his liberation, he formed a partnership with a Gentile German man of his age, approximately 50 years old. They formed a business partnership and became lifelong friends. Never hate, never blame, only looking forward, only working on healing. It's an extraordinary lesson. It's a lesson I learned from childhood, and Mommy, I'm extraordinarily grateful for having been taught that lesson. I think Peter, here tonight and in September in Morocco, you, El Mehdi, my mother, and many others taught that lesson of justice, hope, healing, and never, never go down the road of hate. You are courageous people. We're indebted. And I think John Quincy Adams said something extraordinarily appropriate, something that really defines who all of you are, the three of you. He said, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, it's a different time. He said, she or he who inspires others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more are true leaders. And Peter, El Mehdi, Mommy, that's exactly what you are. So thank you very much.
My mic is on. We need to mic Elizabeth. You're going to mic Elizabeth? Sit up there, baby. Are you on? The applause is for Elmedi, right? Right?
For you. Thank you. Shukran.
As soon as we're all mic'd, then we're gonna begin. Are we ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. So we would like to take the next moments to tell you a little bit about our experience these several months ago in a little bit more detail. I'm going to both fill in some facts and interview both Elizabeth and Elmedi, and through this I think you'll get a flavor, and then we will also have time for questions from the audience. So you can jot those questions down on all these pieces of paper that you have. So, but I'd like to start by reading to you a really remarkable document. You have it on your places. And if you don't have, they're still in the back at the table, but you can pick them up on your way out. I'm going to read it. This document frames really the whole discussion that took place in Morocco. Because the question before us in planning this conference was, how do you raise the question of a complete unknown, that is to say, the Holocaust, in a society that has a 180-degree opposite to ours with regard to this topic? It saturates our media, our personal lives, our literature, both as Jews and non-Jews in the United States and in much of the Western world. In the Arab world, it is exactly the opposite. So how do you begin that discussion? And by the way, we don't want you to be naive in understanding what took place here. The courage of these students that Andrea Zulay shared with all of us in speaking directly to Mehdi those were unbelievable words. You have to understand that Azulai is one of the senior diplomats in the whole world. And here he was speaking to a student on a university campus the way you heard him speak. It came from his heart because he understood the courage that was involved and the commitment that was involved in making the decision to form this Mimuna club, this Moadon Mimuna, as they call themselves in Hebrew, and then to act on that conclusion that came as a result of the first few years of their work, realizing that they were learning all kinds of things about Jewish life in Morocco. The one piece that was left out was a story of the Jewish people, not actually even a Moroccan story, as you heard, that has to be told. And when I was in Morocco last December with the students from Kivunim, this wonderful young man came up to me at the end of a 3-hour walking visit around campus and meetings with their students and our students, and he said to me in a very quiet voice, "We, the Mimuna students, have decided that we would like to hold the first conference on the Holocaust in the Arab world here on our campus. Will you help us?" There's not much more to say. It was rather extraordinary, but I said right away to you, you have to tell the story of Muhammad V. You must contextualize this story of the Holocaust that you want to tell in the context of your uniquely Moroccan story. Because that uniquely Moroccan story is unknown to everyone, virtually everyone all over the world. And you heard a part of it in the quote that Serge Verdugo cited in his talk. And he said something else that we have to listen to with really very deeply open ears. He said, and I don't know whether you noticed, but he smiled, but there were tears behind his smile. Morocco wishes for its national pride, for King Mohammed V to be recognized as a Chassidei Umot HaOlam, as a righteous of the nations. It appears he doesn't qualify because he was a diplomat, he was a government official, his life was not at risk. But in Morocco, the story that you hear from the Jewish community is that in early 1941, maybe later, 1941, the Vichy French came to King Mohammed V and they said to him, "We have prepared 250,000 yellow stars. We want them distributed to all the Jews of the kingdom. Then we will know who is Jewish and who is not in the villages where you sometimes couldn't tell. And we have built transit camps in the northern part of the country where we will move these Jews, and then we're going to begin to transport them to concentration camps in Europe." And the story continues. The king said, "Then make 50 more stars for the members of my family, because there are no Jews in Morocco. There are only Moroccans. And they are all my subjects. They are all my people. If you want to start with the Jews, start with me." How many people in this room have ever heard this story? Look, look, look. It's amazing. If there's a Holocaust-educated audience in the world, it is probably this one. And that story, of course, there were no witnesses. So for years after the war, the story was challenged. You know, people made it up. It wasn't true. Didn't really happen. When this final piece of research, which is only the beginning of the research that now is going to be done, revealed this quote, this remarkable quote that you saw in the film. The king invites the Jewish community's leadership to a dinner with the French and German officials. He seats the Jews. The translation is really not a good translation, not ostensibly. Almost directly opposite, sitting at the same table. He invites the rabbis and the Jews of the community, the leadership, to sit at the table with the German and French officials, to their shock, and then he issues that statement publicly to the journalists assembled that he will not bear any distinction amongst his subjects. And not one Moroccan Jew died in a concentration camp, died during the Second World War. When you go to Yad Vashem, you see that clearly on the map. There were foreign Jews in Morocco who had come to Morocco because the king had opened his doors for them too. And they were not under the king's protection. He had no way to protect them. So many of them ended up, as with their French and other European brethren, in concentration camps. There were work camps, because he did not have absolute control. There was a movement of the wealthier, more integrated, more middle-class Jewish community of the larger cities back into the Mela, which is not a ghetto, but still was a step down from where they had been. Of course, they were subject to anti-Jewish legislation. Every time there was a legislative move, the king moved to adjust the circumstances so that Jews continued to have schools, that they continued to have their businesses. So we decided this story must become known. It cannot remain a secret. And the force of the event in Morocco was to use that portal through which to allow Elizabeth to share her story as an actual survivor, and for Dr. Michael Birnbaum, who is one of our eminent national historians of the Holocaust, to tell his factual story about what the Holocaust was all about, to an audience who knew the word but had absolutely no idea of the facts that are commonplace to all of us. So that's a context. And when you go home, I said I was going to read it, but you know what? You can read this at home. When you go home, read this statement issued by his grandson, the present king. In my opinion, it is the strongest statement about the Holocaust written by anyone. And to test my thesis, when I'm often speaking about this topic, I read excerpts and don't tell the audience, Jewish audiences, who it is that I'm quoting. And then I ask, who wrote this? Elie Wiesel, Abe Foxman, you name it. And these are the words of the king of the Arab country of Morocco. So Elizabeth, let's start with you. No, we're not taking questions from the audience. No comments, no comments, no comments or questions until we're done. Elizabeth.
Yes.
What was it like, really? You said in your words that we heard how you felt with these young people, how it moved you, but tell us more about the emotion that was involved as you thought about the invitation to come to Morocco to speak about your experiences, as you arrived in the country, as you encountered these young people and the adult community around, the Muslim Arab community of Morocco.
Well, this was my first ever trip, or whatever you call it, to an Arab Muslim country. And it took me some time to decide if, okay, I have to use this. It took me some time to decide. I was kind of scared. I wasn't quite sure if I am able to do this. But then I have done things that I never thought that I will be able to do, so I decided if I done all that, so I might survive to go to Morocco too. It was a very big surprise. The very biggest surprise was when we arrived to Casablanca, and I didn't feel any kind of animosity or anything. In the contrary, we went out from the hotel and people would greet us. I mean, they said bonjour, marhaba, and they looked at us. I mean, they accepted us. They didn't know who we were, but they were very friendly. I was still very nervous going to Ifran, to Al Ahwayan University. It was still in a couple of days away, and I was nervous. To be frank, I was nervous. But but we met with wonderful people, wonderful young people, and not only Mimuna people. We met people at the campus. They greeted us. We spoke to them. They spoke to us. They were interested where we are coming from. I think I felt very much at home. To be frank, I felt very much at home. And especially with the Mimuna people, because I felt very much at home. But altogether, it was a revelation for me.
Now, Mehdi, go the other way. All of a sudden, it's one thing to be studying about Jews. All of a sudden, you're surrounded with Jews. So I don't only mean tonight. I mean even when we came onto campus, you know.
Yes.
So what was that? What was it like when you really encountered the reality of what was going to happen? That your idea was coming into reality in those last few weeks, and when we finally arrived. What was that like for you?
For the beginning, thank you for inviting me here in New York, and thank you, Mr. Peter, for your support from the beginning, from December when we have met in AUI. Thank you, Mr. Harry, for all what you have done here in New York, and thank you for the Hakel School of inviting us, and thank you for I have the chance because the Mu'adin Mimuna members told me that I'm lucky because I will meet again Elizabeth Citrom, and I'm very lucky, and thank you. In the beginning, when I talked with you about the Holocaust, it was a project. But when I feel that we have 3 weeks from the beginning of the conference, I was very afraid and very stressed. Why I was stressed? Because I had to manage all the logistic means in Al-Akhawain, but also I was afraid of the timing of the conference because it was with what was happening in the UN, the Palestinian demand about to be a member in the UN. And I was afraid about the reaction of my friends and my colleagues in Akhawain University because for some of them, they told that we are like doing that because we are like Zionists. And I was afraid of the reaction. But finally, the reaction was very positive, majoritarily, and we didn't have any problem, and it was very good.
And when you thought about this to begin with, what was inside of you that motivated you even to begin this Mimuna Club? Where did this come from?
Mu'adun Mimuna began in 2007. I was talking with my roommate, Hassan Salhi, who is the co-founder of the club. I talked with him about Jews and the people saying in the university that Jews, stereotyping Jews like killing our brothers in Palestine. Those are the words that are telling there. And we want to change those stereotypes. And we decided to found the Mu'adun Mimuna in 2007.
No, but I don't understand why. In other words, all that stereotype is there. What makes you opposed to that stereotype? Where did it come from?
Because what I heard from my family and from older people, I heard only very positive things about the Jews. They have nostalgia about the Jews who left Morocco, and they talk very positively. And in contrary, the young people have very bad views, and you have like a contrast because between the older people who meet with the Jews and were their neighborhoods, they were their clients, and you have the young people who never meet a Jew and who see only some Arab channels like Al Jazeera saying bad, negative things about the Jews. That I want to change this stereotype and to let my colleagues, young people in the Moroccan society, that Jews is not synonym of bad things, but it's more positive. It can be some negative aspects like Muslims or Christians, but it's not the religion who will affect all that.
And the students who joined you, like, okay, we understand you have this wild idea. How did you get a membership? Where did they come from?
The creative member, I talked with Ghassan in the beginning, and he was very interested because he didn't know a lot of things about Judaism, and I knew a lot of things because of my grandmother who was born in a Jewish neighborhood and from my grandfather. I explained him, And after that, I talked with other people interested about knowing more about the Jews, Moroccan Jews, but also about world Jews and about Israel and about what are the Jews and what they, and a lot of them joined us in the Mu'ad al-Mimuna. From the beginning, they were my friends, the friends that were coming from Rabat, from the main city. Then other clubs joined for personal reasons. Each one is coming. For example, Aziza, who is my fiancée.
That beautiful young woman who spoke, yes? His fiancé.
It's a lovely girl.
By the way, since we're streaming this, Laziza, if you are listening, you got a great round of applause here. And some blushing.
And after that, other members join us in a rotative way. And we have also some American exchange students coming from the US. They are Jews and Christians joining us, and they were interesting to know about Moroccan Judaism and how the relations between Muslims and Jews. And it was like that. And finally, after the conference, we attract other, you have the Orthodox Jews, the Muslim Orthodox. We attract them in our club, and they were very happy to be with us, and they changed their mind.
Now, Elizabeth, I want to come back to you. So your answer before is preparatory. Now I want to take you to what we saw, and we only saw a small sort of cut pieces of Elizabeth's talk. It was very powerful, and it was graphic. It was honest and graphic. As you were standing in this Muslim university, in an Arab country, telling that story, what was going through your heart and your mind?
I felt that I'm doing something very unique, very unusual for me. And I felt, I looked around and I saw faces, and I saw especially eyes. And I felt that I'm speaking to young people who really want to know and understand. And I felt that I felt their empathy, and it felt good.
Yeah, I felt like that in the audience too. By the way, it was interesting. As you can feel like right now in this audience, there's, a little ruffle of noise here and there, somebody's shuffling their feet. When Elizabeth spoke, there wasn't a sound in the room. People just stopped whatever movement there was in their physical being, and they just were captivated and attentive and with her. So I think what you felt was really what was happening. People were stirred by it. You felt that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I felt that they are with me somehow, and they want to know, they want to understand. And while standing there, it's absolutely impossible to tell all. There is no way, none of us who have survived can tell everything. We are only speaking very rudimentary, because it's impossible. We can't, there are no, some things there we can't put into words. But I tried to give some pictures. When I said I was 10 years old, I was 7 years old when the war started for me. It was, to be frank, Kristallnacht was nothing that I knew about just after the war. I was 7 years old. It was 38. I was born 31. But something happened 1938 to me when I started school. And I don't know if I want to repeat it, but it made such a deep mark in my heart, in my soul, that I can never, ever forget it. I have had terrible things to experience, but that first experience maybe made the deepest mark in my soul.
Now, Mehdi, when you were listening to Elizabeth and to Professor Birnbaum, so some of this was new to you too, yes? So what did it feel like as a Moroccan Arab Muslim student listening to this?
I was upset to not knowing that before, to not having it in my education and to know what happened to the Jews during the Holocaust. I knew by reading some books, but I didn't knew a lot of things. For example, Mr. Birnbaum explained with detail, and I didn't know these details. And other members didn't know nothing about the Holocaust of Mu'adh and Mimuna. However, they are interested in Moroccan Judaism. They knew only the word Holocaust, but they didn't know the meaning. They knew only Holocaust, Hitler, and Nazi, the key terms, but they didn't know the real story. And when Elizabeth was telling her story, people were following word by word and what she was saying. And after that, they come to see her at the end of the conference, and they were it was an emotional moment for us.
Now, when you think now back, the conference is over, we leave, life returns to normal, what happened? Was this just accepted by everybody and everybody was smiling and happy about what you did?
We had a lot of positive aspects because in the beginning, in the 2 first weeks, people from other cities want to join Mimuna, want to create branches in their universities, and people who were in the students who were, for example, from Fes, he was very interesting about Mimuna Club, and he wanted to assist to all our activities. And we had good articles in the Moroccan French press, and we had an awesome article from the New York Times and from Haaretz and from Mr. Birnbaum. We were very happy. It was a week of moon, like a honeymoon of Mimuna Club. But just after, it begins the problems. We had like swastikas in our room. We had like comics saying Hitler saying, when is next meeting of Mu'adh and Mimuna? I heard that they need an advisor, and other bad articles from the Arab written press, Moroccan Arab written press, treating us as traitors, and the administration was very upset. And the communication department told us, you have done a bad image to the university. You need to stop those activities. You need to. But we talk with other people of the administration. They help us. They managed to resolve the problem with the communication department. And it's okay, alhamdulillah, as we say. Thanks to God.
Now, when you think forward